Okay guys, I'm just gonna make a real quick video right now just to explain kind of how things work in politics. So when it comes to the Republicans and Democrats, there is a very interesting dynamic between the two parties. For the Republicans, they're often not the ones who do something to antagonize the relationship, okay? Oftentimes, Republicans just do whatever they do and then react whenever the Democrats do something against them. For instance, when in the 2020 election, Pennsylvania was allowing mail-in voting. Now, the state Congress is who decides how an election is run in the state. Well, in Pennsylvania, there was a certain cutoff to when they could accept mail-in voting. And a Democrat judge came in and said that, no, you're allowed to accept mail-in voting past election day. And in addition, you do not need a postage date on the envelope. If you don't know what that means that you can take the mail-in vote and count it, even if it wasn't confirmed to have been mailed out before the election ended. So in theory, this judge said that it's perfectly legal to accept and count ballots that may not have been made until after the election had ended. So the Republicans reacted to that. And that's often what happens in politics, is that Democrats act and Republicans react. However, when it comes to actual policy, Democrats are often the ones reacting. Democrats are often the ones reacting, while Republicans are the ones who are acting. At least when it comes to, say, like the presidency. For instance, when the war between Israel and Palestine started after October, the Biden administration basically said that Israel has a right to defend itself. And only once mass protests started did the Biden administration actually start to react and change their policy. When a policy becomes unpopular, that is when Democrats react to it. They have started to say more about the border, for example, after it turns out that having a border being flooded is unpopular. They're still not doing anything about it, but they started to be more reactionary towards it. Whereas Republicans, specifically Donald Trump, just act. So before the 2016 election, Donald Trump told people exactly what he was going to do, and he kept doing it. Even after people started to get upset about the border policies, he kept up what he promised he would do. He didn't pivot. Now, some people would say that's a problem, but looking back on it now, and how much people have completely done a 180 on that specific topic, Donald Trump has basically proven his point. And by never pivoting on it, he has shown to be more prescient, more aware of what America needs. Now, just because border security wasn't popular before, doesn't mean it wasn't going to become popular once people got the full scope of the problem. And now that Democrat cities are being overrun by illegal immigrants, a lot of these Democrat cities are now coming out against Biden and his border policies, while the citizens are coming out against Biden specifically. And oftentimes, like in what we're seeing in New York City, they're actually coming out in support of Donald Trump. Now, there was this one video where a woman was basically complaining about the illegal immigrants. She was a black woman, and she was in front of a black crowd. And then, at one point, a black gentleman inside the crowd raises his hands, and he's like, "Hey, can I ask you one question?" And she's like, "Okay." And he's like, "Who did you vote for?" And everyone just started laughing inside the room. And she openly admits that she voted for Biden, and then she goes off and tries to explain herself. And the guy stops her, and he's like, "All the problems we're facing right now," points to the woman, "they're your fault. They're the fault of people just like you." And can you say he's wrong? I mean, Trump was warning about this since 2016. And it took 8 years, almost 8 years, for people to realize that, no, he's 100% right. You can't just have illegal immigrants come into the country because they don't have work visas. Some of these people don't even speak English. A lot of them have freaking smartphones, like phones like the one I'm recording with right now. And it's absolutely insane. Like, these are not poor individuals. The fact that they can even afford a smartphone goes to show that these people aren't nearly as poor as people claim. To get a smartphone, you have to pay for the smartphone up front, which means that these people have several $100s worth of expendable income that they don't have to spend on food or living expenses. And a lot of their food is being provided to them, free housing is being provided to them, but they don't have work visas because they're illegal. And while these mayors keep telling them to keep saying that, hey, we have to provide these people work visas, there's not enough jobs. Like, for example, in New York City, in AOC's district, they were going to build an Amazon warehouse. Now, I kind of work for Amazon, but I don't like Jeff Bezos. I don't like what Amazon does. It's just a job for me. It's just something I can make a little bit of money on, delivering packages. It's a good blue collar job where I just drive around and lift heavy packages. And it's a job that needs to be done. Now, not to get too far off the point, there are certain business practices of Amazon that I don't agree with, but the blue collar workers who work at these warehouses are necessary to provide everyone the mail that they need, since the post office is basically completely worthless now. And they were going to build an Amazon warehouse there and provide thousands, if not tens of thousands of jobs to New York City. Well, all those illegal immigrants could have been working those jobs. But because of what AOC, she came out against Amazon because they're a big corporation and she hates the billionaires. Now, there's no jobs for those illegal immigrants to take. Now, you can argue, and I argue, that the illegal immigrants shouldn't be here, let alone working. But now you have the illegal immigrants in New York City because of Democrat policies, since it's a sanctuary city. But now you don't have the Amazon warehouse to give them jobs. So not only has the sanctuary city part of their legislation hurt them, but so has AOC by taking away the jobs they could have had. So they crippled themselves not once, but twice in New York City. And it's all the Democrats' fault. And then they're yelling at us for saying that maybe we shouldn't have brought these illegals here because there's no jobs for them. And then when Democrats complain about that, what can we say to them? You took away the jobs that they could have been doing. Now, those Amazon warehouse jobs should go to actual Americans, or at least people who already have a green card or something, right? They shouldn't be going to illegals at all. But the point is Democrats, they reacted poorly to Donald Trump's policies of stopping illegal immigration. They reacted, whereas Trump acted. And then when Amazon was coming into New York City, Democrats reacted to that, and they shot themselves in the foot both times. Whereas Donald Trump became unpopular because of his actions. But now people look back at those actions and basically say he was right. When Democrats act against the Republican Party, the Republicans react. They don't act against the Republican Party. But the Republican Party, specifically the MAGA wing or the Libertarian wing, like Trump and Rand Paul, they act on their policies. There's a lot of times where Rand Paul will vote against something that the rest of the Republicans in the Senate vote for. And then later on it turns out that Rand Paul or Donald Trump are right. Now, I'm not saying that Donald Trump is a libertarian like Rand Paul is, but he definitely was more hands-off than, say, George W. Bush was, or H.W. Bush was. He acts more like a Reagan-type president, where he just lets the corporations provide the jobs. And then if there's a lawsuit against one of the corporations because their conditions are unsafe or whatever, these type of Republicans don't enact legislation to prevent that kind of stuff. They let the lawsuits play out. They don't set a minimum wage, for example, like a national minimum wage. They let the market decide. Whereas Democrats are now coming out, that one Californian Senate candidate, who's a Democrat, came out and said $20 an hour minimum wage is not enough. It should be $50 an hour minimum wage. And people were looking at her like, are you serious? And she said this in the middle of the debate. And that's a direct reaction to what the liberals were saying in California. That's not her acting on the policies she wants. It's her reacting based on what the communists in her state want. It's just ridiculous, man. And now that Democrats have reacted and put their $20 minimum wage up, California businesses are going out of business left and right because they can't afford it, or they have to fire half their employees. It's just ridiculous, man. Anyways, I'm going to start rambling, so I'm going to cut it at 15 minutes here. Have a nice day, guys.